Hello. Another Friday, another Mugs and Mornings. I'm going to wait for Sarah to get rolling. Let's see. Here she is. Hi, Sarah. I did it. Let's see. Hey, here we are.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited to see you.
Same. I'm 11.
I love it. All right. I'm going to give a few seconds to people logging in. Hello, waving to everyone. It's so hard for me to like focus on the interview while these things are popping up. So if you see my eyes, like, that's why.
It's my time, so it's a new world. We'll be in it.
I love it. Thanks for trusting me to jump on and just try it out. But
Always, Erin.
no, thank you. Um, so I was thinking, as I was like getting ready for this call, I was thinking about the first time I met you, like the first memory I have of you. I don't
You
even know if you know what my first memory is.
have to tell me.
Okay, I was gonna say, I kind of wanted to like share it as part of your introduction.
Yeah.
So, um, Sarah and I clearly know each other. We're very comfortable with each other. We used to work together, and the first memory I have of you was I can't remember if it was like my observation time or I was actually working, whatever it was, but I walk into this big like therapy gym space. Vinny's coming in. What do you? Oh, I'm kind of iced coffee. Thank you. Look at that service.
Love.
Um, so yeah, I walk into this big like gym space and there's all like individual sessions going on and you were doing a group session with an OT and I didn't know you were doing the group session. Let me be clear. So literally like in the corner of this big gym is these mats. You created like this whole cozy little corner for this group of kids and I had no idea you were back there and I'm talking with the OT or whatever. All of a sudden I hear like voices and giggling. I'm like, what is happening back there? And I just peek around and you were just like so in your element, reading a book, talking about like emotions and experiences, and all the kids were like super engaged with you. And it was so fascinating, or like maybe not that, like captivating, right? Like to be in such a busy environment where these kids are like, some kids are dysregulated and some kids are shouting in joy, and then you guys were just in this like little haven in the corner, and I feel like that just totally embodies who you are as a human, of this like grounding, welcoming, comforting like energy. And it was so weird how it came to me this morning. I was like, because I feel like I've known you forever, right? It's definitely been a couple of years now, but it's just like I think you give that vibe off of like you're safe here and like I accept you. And yeah, so I'm so happy to hear what you're doing now. I know there's some distance between us physically, so it's nice to get face to face. Um, but yeah, is there anything you want to share before I jump into the questions?
Yeah, I think similarly when I met you, right? My first memory is you just running around with all these bean bags, but helping so many people at so many different angles and different modes, and just I feel like that also, not to reflect back to you, but I feel like that also embodies like how you're always supporting everyone, you're always like learning and teaching, and so that's my memory of
Oh,
you working here.
thanks.
Obviously I've missed you, so this will be really fun. And
Yeah,
I'm
I agree. Oh, thanks. I feel like I could feel myself running around with those bean bags. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. So,
probably
hi.
so bodied Aaron.
I love it. What great cup fillers this morning for each other. Cool. So, why don't you tell anyone that's listening how you're connected to the neurodiversity community and the work you're doing now?
Sure. So I really got passionate about neurodivergency. My family members, I have some family members that are neurodivergent, and family friends, but really in graduate school and then working with you, um, that's where my passion really grew. And I really enjoy how much the neurodivergent community continues to teach me. Um, so ways that I connect is through this practice is one, just being able to serve that population for the majority and solely has been a really important thing for me and a big passion and a big dream. Even back when we worked together, that was a hope. So I think within my work in counseling, but also I'll be teaching actually at the university in September.
Nice.
So I hope I'm teaching trauma. So I hope to continue and spread in that community and also just navigating Arizona's community. It's newer, even though I'm from here. I definitely have more roots in San Diego in terms of the neurodivergent community, which I appreciate and connect with you guys. So I'm hoping to grow it out here as well, but definitely through the practice, I think is the biggest way that we outreach and we connect with others. And we're really trying to offer supports in schools and just things that people are needing and not necessarily getting the support for.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. As much as I miss you out here in San Diego, and I'm sure it's like out of your comfort zone, right, to not have that community net, right?
Yes.
I think it's a great calling for you to be out there and spreading this there everywhere we could get it, right? So
definitely. And Catherine, our owner, she has autistic children, and so hearing her story and her experience, I think adds to how I can connect with them, and then what I learned too. She's a great learning source. So that's been to develop as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And for those of you listening, we actually interviewed Catherine a few months ago now at Chapter and Page Consulting, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, it's funny that I think actually, yeah, Sarah put us in contact with Catherine of like, hey, she would be great for Mugs and Mornings. And then we're like, well, you'd be great. Like, let's just do this. So yeah, that's the connection there. All the connections.
Yeah.
I love it. Cool. All right. So at Chapter and Page Counseling, how do you promote that it's a safe space for neurodivergent individuals, not only for themselves, but also the families?
Love this question.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's the most important thing. I mean, we know with therapy, right? Like safety has to come first, but especially with experiences that maybe potentially had a traumatic experience or weren't maybe as supportive at the time, the number one goal is safety. And one way that I personally and in my practice think it's important to do that is transparency, being transparent, offering that, and also involving the families and providing them with education and understanding. And you can just be in the space. You don't have to be anything specific. You don't have to learn a new skill per se. Obviously, we learn skills naturally, but the space is for you to be seen and heard. And I think that's so important to establish to even feel like you can be safe in an environment, especially when we're talking about what it's like in the neurodivergency world and how we can be you and support you to be you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think like you just saying that like the safety word in terms of like acceptance and all of that. I also think there's so many people that don't even feel safe in their own bodies, right? Like, and we don't even slow down enough to even know what that feels like a lot of the time. As a neurotypical, no children adult, right? Like I feel that. So on that level of extra demand and stimuli in your environment is so huge. So I love that you highlighted like just being, right? Like there's no work that needs to be done right now. We actually just need to like be.
Yeah.
So,
and if being means like you're in the beanbag or being means you're exploring the room, whatever. And I appreciate you bringing that up as well, within the nervous system, like how are we going to help the nervous system feel safe?
Yeah, exactly. There's so much about, I've been doing a ton of learning about polyvagal theory and neuroception and all of that. It's so, like our brains are so amazing, right? And how they just take in all this stimuli that we're not even consciously processing, but trying to protect ourselves. Like they're trying to protect us, but then there's these tendencies of they still, like, that part of our brain still thinks we're in a cave, right? We need to protect against everything. And in today's modern world, it's like there's so much to be protected by,
Yeah.
right? There's so much stimuli. So yeah, I love that. Like, you also highlighted that being isn't like, let me just sit and be zen, right? Like, it is just being yourself and whatever that looks like to you. And if that means as a parent, you're coming in and like just venting and letting it all out, you know, that's totally cool. If it means you just want quiet and want your kid to be like engaged and calm and regulated, right? It's meeting everyone where they're at. So awesome.
Yeah. I have one more too.
Yeah.
I think that being and being able to create a safe space is also having the trust of your provider and allowing me to hold that for you. Like, I'm your container. I
Mm-hmm.
learned that a long time ago from wonderful supervisor, but essentially like allowing me to hold that for you and be in that space so that you can have the energy to then explore what it would be like to not hold on to that.
Yeah. Oh, that give me chills. I love that. Yeah. Be the container to like hold that space. Because again, like there's so many times where we might say these things, and for some people it lands and they know exactly what we're talking about. Other people it's like, I don't want to just be. I can't even meditate. I don't even, like you don't have to be in this like holding the space. Like some people will be like, does that mean you're like energetically going to put your hands around, and then they're like, no, get out of here, But when you put it into that really concrete, like, I am the container for that feeling. Like, give it to me, take it off your shoulders, right?
Yeah.
And just like let it go for a bit. So I love that. All right. All right. I'm really excited for this question. So you are registered as an AutPlay. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Okay. An AutPlay therapist. I have no idea what that is, number one. And number two, how does it assist you in your therapy sessions? So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely. AutPlay it's newer. It's definitely still pursuing like the research angles that we all hear from in terms of play therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful. It's so cool. So essentially, it's play therapy, but we're utilizing neuroaffirming perspectives and care. And what that looks like is part of it, a really big part of it, is engaging the family system, which we know doesn't traditionally often occur unless, especially in counseling, unless it's, family therapy or unless it's a specific thing. So AutPlay allows for the engagement of the family system, which has like direct modeling with the caregivers and support. So they're in there and they do that in play therapy too, right? But we have seen Dr. Grant is one of the developer of it essentially. And he'll talk about how in his own experience, some of the discrepancies of being able to notice the nervous system in terms of like, what am I needing to regulate in that moment, or how am I using language? And so AutPlay is a really cool way to have the parent be the change agent while you're still creating a trauma-informed space.
Mm-hmm.
And it is wider in terms of, for us personally, we utilize what is your strength. Sometimes it may be video games, right? And I know there's some controversy for some people on that, all within, expectations of what's going to fit for the family and the person.
Yeah.
But it allows us to utilize creative techniques and avenues to have the whole family engaged and connect with the individual or with the child.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge, or the adult, right? So we're really looking at connection and strength base and support while building skills, which we see then creates more success as time comes on, versus trying to correct a behavior or change them to fit in with that society.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think there was keywords in there that like the adult or the parent is tuned into those nervous system needs to co-regulate, right? Because I remember I learned like play-based therapy, I think just as a human. I like play is like how I live my life, right?
Definitely.
So it's very intertwined into the work I do. And when I work with specifically like apraxic bodies, right? Doing all play with that sometimes isn't right. Like that's not fully intentional. A lot of times they may not like that's not regulating for their nervous system, right? So then it's like, well, I don't want to go the complete other way and tell you you have to change that unless it feels good, right? Unless like we're seeing signs or they're communicating in whatever way they communicate that like, hey, I don't want to be doing that. That's not helpful for my body. Let's find other avenues, right? Other ways to do this. And I think the best way to do that is through like play and exploration and like creativity and just exploring, right? Versus it being like, oh, that action that you're doing right now, we need to shun that because it's not accepted in society and we're going to do this instead, right? So it sounds like AutPlay takes into that account that play, like for me, basically what I'm saying is play therapy is so near and dear to my heart. And there were times where I felt a little conflicted of like, this is like going too far led play or like child led where it becomes dysregulated and it's actually not helpful for the child, and some co-regulation, right? Like we need that interdependence, right? As all humans, right? Like if everything was led the way I wanted to do it as a neurotypical human, like my life would not be organized, right? I need my husband to kind of come in and co-regulate and be like, okay, let's get back on task, or, you know? So I think I think I said this in our last Instagram live. I read a blog post from Communication for Education about everyone strives for this independence, right? Like, let's get who we're working with to this level of independence. But they view it, and I think I view it now as more as this like interdependence, right? Like, no one thing in this world is completely independent. Like, we're all reliant on other systems and co-regulations and energies, all of it. So it's like the ought play is that it's this like coexistence, everyone kind of coming together to be in this interdependent state where we're all feeling good and connected.
Exactly. And like you're saying,
Cool.
too, my role in that, when there's this regulation or when there's we're still learning those signals or we're still understanding what it looks like in our bodies, is to then support the parent in that. So they're not doing it alone, right? They go home and they're like, what is this? What am I doing?
Yeah.
But also to connect together and do it together, like you said. So it's an interwoven. And that way, obviously, there still are limitations that you learn within life, and safety is important as well. So it allows me as the provider to support in that environment while still navigating and modeling what will be supportive for you guys. And
Yeah.
it's cool. There's a lot of really cool family interventions. I know the word intervention, but I'm gonna say like supports and activities is maybe a friendly word. Um, that are solely to build the strengths and highlight the strengths of everyone, and also increase that confidence and that autonomy, because that's the end goal, right? We really want someone in their family to feel confident individually and together as a system.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that building on strengths is so huge because especially in this community, it's just been what can you not do and how do we highlight that to prove that you need some kind of service or support, you know? So just that flip, it's still, I feel like I say this every Instagram live, it still blows my mind that we even need to like reverse this in this day and age, but we're all working to do it. And yeah, your training in that is huge. I'm definitely going to be looking it up and looking into it and learning about it. So thank you for sharing.
And I sure other, you don't have to be a counselor to receive training on it. But they have a lot of information just on the AutPlayTherapy.com website. It goes, more into the clinical language, but also for parents if they have questions. And there's different types of trainings you can do. And they even have research, if someone's like a research savvy person or they like to see the research,
Yeah.
he has that as well. So it's a really awesome resource to have.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely put in like the caption a little bit of information so people can learn about that too. Thank you. A resource within a resource.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, cool. So this one is a little bit of like a from the neurodiversity world. But I just wanted to put a plug in here that you recently started a side hustle, and I wanted to highlight it just because of like it just shows that like on top of everything you're already doing, you're just so passionate and you want to share your skills with the world. So why don't you share us a little bit about your side hustle?
All right. So photography is a side
Yeah.
hustle. I am really excited. I've had the hobby for a long time, but I'm finally taking the plunge, brave enough to, like I said, be sharing it and be sharing my passions. I really I love the different perspectives you can get from a camera. People's like capturing their moments, their interactions, surprising shots. So that's been something I reinstated for myself personally, to grow and to keep growing creatively. And I would love actually to apply it within the neurodivergent community eventually. I'm not sure what that would look like, but I could see a couple cool ideas that would kind of mesh all my passions together. But yeah, so I'm doing some free shoots for people, kind of getting the feeling of it. And then really passion is my main goal right now with it, but I bring it up. It's been fun to just go
explore. Yeah, it's like a creative outlet, right? And like you said, right, it's like this scary, like I'm just gonna take the leap and put it out there, right? But I love that you shared that it likely will like tie into this world too, because that was going to be like my next question. There's two really great photographers out here in San Diego, one up in Temecula and one in like Oceanside that I've met through the neurodiversity community. And like some of these families, I do like a sleepaway camp up in Idlewild. Actually, shout out to Idlewild. It's very full, so I'm moving it carefully. What was I saying? Squirrel brain. Oh, that these families come up to these camps and we have a photographer out there and she does like family portraits, right? And like gets them out in nature. And it's very rare that these families have these opportunities because they're not going to call just any photographer and expect acceptance, although it should be that way, right? But like having access to having a beautiful family picture with everyone in it instead of like it being like mom always taking the picture because mom's holding son's hand, or like all of that. And then I've seen like self-portraits done, which are really empowering, right? So just no demand of like, let's just sit and smile like a self-portrait, like just do what feels good and I'm going to capture those moments. So I think it's definitely, I think every like side passion that we create or do can always be tied back, right? Because it's all just part of the human experience. So I love that for you. I'm excited to see where it goes. And like you said, like keep it fueled by the passion. And that's what, honestly, like that's how Sunrise started too. It was like this side hustle that all of a sudden became like, I have no option to make this my full-time gig and I'm going to go in, and it was the passion that fueled it, right? And I think, and it still fuels it. There's actually, you're on a stand. There's a big sign over here that says passion never fails. And that's my reminder, right? Like keep the passion.
I'm going to keep that.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you. I will, you have an Instagram account for them too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll tag that too so people could check out. Do you have any of Fitz on there of your little pup?
I actually do. I have one of him at Ocean Beach. The
Yes.
sunset,
I vaguely remembered a really cute picture of him, and I was like, I don't remember if that was on like this one or your photography. Definitely check it out if you haven't looked, guys, for Fitz alone.
If you don't know, Fitz is my dog child, basically.
Yeah, very big. Love it. All right, moving right along. So we're actually to our last two questions. The question that we ask everyone is, what allows you to rise and shine as your best self? What do you do to take care of yourself and feel good?
When reading this, I was like, Erin, that's definitely you. I love this question. Just so encompassing. And honestly, I was thinking about it this morning as I was like recording myself prepping for this.
Oh, I love it.
Because that's how our brains work.
Yeah.
I think it's just knowing everything's a process has been really helpful for me, especially recently, in like certain growths and areas, and keeping that in mind allows like self-compassion and allows me to continue to enjoy the process, and like knowing I can be my best self and I can show up. Like I can show up with my families, I can show up in my personal life, I can show up for myself. And so I think really being able to reorient in like the present really helps me like shine and be myself, and keep going for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's so easy to not be in that state, right? And how quickly we get wrapped up I love it. I was just filling out a survey about how I regulate myself for a great group that I work with up in Idlewild, another plug. But
Amazing.
anyway, they were asking about like what can we do to keep you regulated in times of like fast-paced, environments and stuff. And I have this little hack that I do with Vinny, actually. So I don't know if this will help you or anyone listening, but if I'm in that state where I'm just like up here, right? And I'm just like, I got to do this, and I like, and I'm not enjoying the process of doing it, and I'm trying to get to that end goal. He'll literally ask me, he'll say, where are you? And sometimes I'll be like, I'm in my house. I'm like, right here. What do you mean? I'm like, and I'm like, oh, I'm here. And he's like, what time is it? It's now. I am here now. So that's been my hack. And I just wrote it on that like team worksheet. So other team members that I work with could kind of snap me out of it. Like just tell people around you to get me back in check, right? Like give me that reality check. So there's that interdependence again, right? Like sometimes it has to be that external cue to get us back to ourselves. So
I'm gonna steal that, Vinny, if you're listening.
yeah, definitely, right? Like just tell people around you, or if you're able to. There are times where I'll catch myself and I'm like, all right, where am I? But it's rare. Usually it has to come from some external source. So yeah, it's funny how, I don't know, like my parents always told me like, you'll understand when you get older, right? Or but like as I go through experiences, I'm like, oh, like you're right. Like it does make sense as I get older, and it is, I should enjoy the process, and I shouldn't have rushed through my high school to get to college, and
All right. Be independent. Yeah.
yeah. So if you're listening, mom and dad, you were right. You were right. All right. Cool. I mean, the last question is really to like pass the floor to you, and you could share where we could learn more about you, what you do, and then if there's anything else you want to share that I didn't ask.
Sure. I think the best place probably is chapterandpagecounseling.com. We have a cool website. It has a little blurb of my like learning history, my passions, some of my training. I think Instagram's a great source. We have an Instagram for Chapter and Page as well. I have my own too in photography. Um, Definitely check out that. It's called Shining Light by Photography by Sarah. It's a mouthful, but
That's
Um,
right.
but I think, yeah, that's probably the best place. I was going to share, I don't think I've told you, Erin, and I
Yeah.
hope, I didn't really ask Catherine if I could share, but I don't think she'll mind. We're hoping actually to eventually make our way back out to San Diego and be able to maybe provide some support there in this way. So that's a future goal, hopefully.
Yeah. Keeping all my fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
So that's that we
Cool.
that we can make that happen over time. So
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. And you guys also offer
yeah.
virtual? Okay.
So I didn't mention this. I guess I should have. I'm licensed in California and now Arizona. Arizona, it's called a temporary until they like approve the one in February, but it's still licensed, and so I can see clients virtually, and I do. I have some virtually through our platform already, so I can definitely do that too if people are interested, as long as
Awesome.
it's good for them and a good
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah, definitely. I know virtual, I feel like sometimes has a knee-jerk reaction after all of our time spent virtually through COVID. But it is still like, I will take the silver lining of the fact that we realized we could reach more people and connect with more people as long as it feels good, right? So,
Exactly.
uh, so excited. I'm excited to hear about all the progress and things
Thanks.
happening. And oh, I just saw Vanessa log on. I saw so many familiar names and faces on here. So it was really great to see some mutual friends and colleagues. So
And thank
thank
you for having me on and being supportive and just sharing your guys' space, and so impressive and incredible all that you guys are doing over there.
Oh, thank you. Right back at you. Thank you for taking the time. Hope to see you in person. Give you a nice big hug soon. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Thank you everyone for joining.
Bye.
Bye.